My way, or the highway, and in the driveway is a nice range. Cause I grind through the climb, I invite pain. You'll never hear me, bitch, nah, I don't complain. Just gotta flip the switch and you can go and obtain anything you want, anything you need. Your mind's got the key ingredient, it's belief. They deceive with the negativity, but I just slide right by that energy. Even when you feel low, you can still go. Even when you feel slow, you can still go. Even when there's no hope, you can still go. I never answer to no, man, I still go. Go, 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 go.
What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to the Gallop Out. Jackson and Mikey P filled in last week for me as I've been on vacation the past 10 days, but I'm back. Jackson, you're here as always. We get to cover one of the biggest weekends in racing to start each year, and that is Pegasus weekend down at Gulfstream Park in South Florida. Jackson, how you doing? I know we just wrapped up Pacific Horse Players, but we're back on the main show.
Doing good. I'm most excited that we get to finally change the intro picture tomorrow night after Rank wins at third place. So we got to get Mixto out of there, get Rank onto the page. I'm ready.
That's right. When look, Mixto is the highest earning highest earning horse in the Calumet barn, but that doesn't matter because he just won the Pacific Classic and for our boy Dougie O'Neill. But when Rank wins tomorrow, that winner's circle picture will be the intro one. Jackson, I don't know about you. I'm also most excited that we get to have a first time guest on this show, someone that I know you have worked with, and I've been on some shows with as well over on the Inner Circle, as all of our shows have been on In the Money now for the past couple months. So if you haven't figured that one out, you might be living under a rock next to Patrick and SpongeBob. But this first-time guest over on the Gallop Out is none other than Nick Tammaro. Nick, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, guys. It's a long overdue for sure, but glad to join you.
Yeah, happy to have you on. Before we dive into the Gulfstream Park program, you're probably down in Sam Houston, as you are the race caller down there. I know you guys have a contest coming up. I want to give you a second to talk about it.
Yeah, we have the Houston Betting Championship coming up on Saturday. Unfortunately, a little uncertainty at this point weather-wise. We're expected to be on kind of the southern end of this big storm that's crossing the United States, but at least as of right now, when we're taping this, it's Tuesday night. Things are looking like we should be able to at least have our card, hoping that the rain is at a minimum. Obviously, we've got some horses shipping in for some of the stakes races and got some very nice field that came together for the Houston Ladies Classic. Unfortunately, most of the country can't see it. That won't be the case forever, and hopefully not for terribly much longer. But we've got the Houston Betting Championships $1,500 all bankroll. Mikey P qualified. I think he's planning on making it down. I know he's very nervous about getting back home, yes. But that's something the risk he's just going to have to take. I think so. We're going to offer the entire Sam Houston card. Races 6 through 13 at Gulfstream, 1 through 5 at Santa Anita, 4 through 9 at Aqueduct. That card looks very unlikely to take place, and then we'll sub in the entire Fairgrounds card just to give everybody enough to choose from. We're giving away 4 NHC spots and 2 BCBC spots on Saturday, 2 NHC spots on Friday night. And we have a contest that combines our live card, which is 9 races and 5 from Turfway. You've got to bet $50 5 times. I'm sorry, $100 5 times, and 3 of them have to be on Sam Houston.
I love it. That's a fun tournament. Many tracks to choose from, so it kind of gives horse players the chance to maybe go to where they feel their strongest opinion is, but to also focus the betting product on Sam Houston. So hoping the weather holds off and you guys get to have that, because I know a lot of people, including Mikey, are very excited for that to take place.
Yeah, and we've had to grow this thing organically, really, with On Track being our only option, and that won't always be the case. At least it shouldn't be in the near future when we can let ADWs back in. This would if it were up to me, would have the look of a grade 1 gamble type event where we had every ADW getting involved. And I think to get 100+ entries in an on-track event at a place that's not sending out their signal is pretty amazing. And so it has a lot to do with the people that have been involved in it at Sam Houston, myself, and Melissa, who's the guest services manager, Mike Steinler, who's a multiple NHC qualifier and finished in the money in the Breeders' Cup Betting Challenge in 24. These are people that really undoubtedly are doing a ton of great work. So hopefully we can get it all out, and it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, no doubt on track only for now, but hopefully, in the next year or so, this is available to everybody. I know we talked in Arizona a little bit. I love Sam Houston when I was able to bet on it. That was a fun track to pay attention to, and I hope that we get to do that around the country sooner rather than later.
Yeah, that's the hope, and we're seeing some positive things on the horizon. There's some new leadership at the Texas Racing Commission, and hopefully we've started to have the right kind of conversations in order for that to take place. So I would say if I were a betting man, I would say the Memorial Day card at Lone Star will be available to the broader audience for the first time since 2022. Hopefully our Texas Champions Day card on March 21st will be right along with that.
I love it. As long as they don't change the race caller, I will have no opposition to any of that. So
they better not.
Without further ado, we'll dive into the sequence. We're covering races 9 through 13 this Saturday. It's Pegasus Day. They are all graded stakes, 2 grade 1s, 2 grade 2s, and we're going to kick things off with a grade 3. It's going to be the grade 3 W.O. McKnight going over the turf course. We're going 1.5 miles. To start things off, going the 12 furlongs. I'm going to throw our picks up on the screen. We have top 2s for every race, and there is a theme. The rail horse in Zverev, all 3 of us have in our top 2. I am going 1-3. Jackson is going 3-1, and Nick is going 1-6. Nick, we're going to kick things off with you as you are our guest. Is this as simple as Mike Maker going long on the grass?
Yeah, I think so. Mike is it's an uncanny ability to identify these horses that ultimately want to go longer. And obviously, there's some familiarity all of us have with this Dam Side. This is a sibling of Balance, is a sibling of Zenyatta. So we know distance-wise, there's no limitations there whatsoever. And, Mike is just incredible at identifying horses that maybe have been misplaced distance-wise. And that's the case here, obviously, with all due respect to Cherie DeVaux. This was a horse that was obviously looking for more ground. And I think, in her barn, he could sort of lose his spot, so to speak. Whereas with a guy like Mike, who can put some work into him, he can certainly take a big step forward. So this is a horse that he actually nominated to the Connolly Turf Cup at Sam Houston. That's a race that Mike is going to be trying to win for the 10th time. And when he kept him home, I kind of thought to myself, yeah, he probably likes this horse. So he ended up sending over a couple of other horses. Last 2 years, synthetic to turf in route races, Maker's 21% with a 548 ROI. Now, there are a couple of giant priced winners in there, but it's clear that he knows what kind of moves to make with these types of horses. The thing I liked about him also, guys, was that this horse is versatile. He was much farther off the pace last time out than he'd been definitely in any of the 3 starts for Maker, but really for the most part at any point in his career, and he handled it very well. Common Defense was a million lengths best that night, but Zverev still ran really well to run him down. I think ultimately wants a little bit more ground than that. So yeah, I felt like it was just that simple, really.
Yeah, I don't really disagree with anything you said. I like what you mentioned about this horse being versatile. You look at that effort, 2 back was up close to a pace that was not the fastest, but had himself in the right position, got the job done. Last time behind a much faster pace, made that run late. I'm with you. I think Common Defense was miles the best, and Zverev still managed to run that one down. Jackson, you got a little bit of the contrarian going on as you're going with the number 3, Ohana Honor, Flavian Pratt, Shug McGahee as your top pick, but I see you respect Zverev as well.
Yeah, I couldn't get too creative in this spot. I just feel like he's the horse to beat, I would imagine. I think he's going to be the favorite come post time. He's just done nothing wrong in his 3 starts in 2025. The race in the Sycamore, I really liked him that day. Couldn't believe I think he went off 8-5 in there, which I found shocking. And then he was pressing the pace. He was supposed to lead. He didn't make the lead. Pressing. And it's just not usually a winning trip on the Keeneland turf course. The pace was fast. That ran okay to finish 4th in there. Then he came back at Aqueduct against an overmatched field, got a really good trip and blew the doors off of that field. I just think getting back to 1.5 miles is going to be good for him. He has plenty of experience at this distance. I think he's going to get the jump on a lot of the deeper closers. As you go through most of this field, a lot of them want to make that one late run. And with him having some kind of speed, stretching out from 9 furlongs to the 12 furlongs, I think he'll be in the top third of the field. He'll get the jump on everyone else. I just think he's the horse to beat in this spot.
Yeah, I'm with you. At least in some of what you said, I do think that two back effort in the Sycamore, that race was a little bit backwards. I remember betting Utah Beach that day, thinking he was going to come from off the pace. He found himself on the lead for 90% of that race, and I couldn't have picked that one out. Ohana Honor, you mentioned, was having that kind of the death trip or the kiss of death trip in pressing the entire way around. Came back in the Knickerbocker to improve on that effort, and now stretches back out to the 12 furlong distance. Seems to be working pretty sharply as well. I know that's at pace, and so we can't see, but it's not often you see this many bullets, regardless of time, for a trainer like Shug McGahee. So this horse must be feeling himself, eating his Wheaties in the morning.
Yeah, I think he's going to be a favorite. Would you agree with that, Nick? I mean, he's taken a lot of money his last 2 starts.
Yeah, I would make him the favorite just based on how much money he's taken, as you mentioned. Interestingly enough, does anyone know when Shug's last winner was?
No clue.
No,
It was Ohana Honor in the Knickerbocker.
Wow, that is
he's 0 for his last 30,
Yes.
which is probably more of an anomaly than anything else. Yeah, I picked this horse third. I know we did top 2 picks, but I thought I think his best races are when he's in sort of a controlled scenario, and his 2 wins were one where he's sitting off a hot pace going shorter, and the other he's on a lead on a slow pace. So those are just the kind of horses generally I want to bet against. I wouldn't probably make much of a pick 5 without him. I would probably use him more so as a backup. I actually think Miss the Cut's a little interesting in here. And this horse was bet down to favoritism in the McDermott. Actually was favored in all 3 starts for Cherie last year. Bobby DeBona is a guy that people might not be quite as familiar with, but he's a very good trainer. He does exceptionally well in South Florida. And this horse was going shorter last out. The first 3 or 4 weeks of the championship meet at Gulfstream, when they were working the turf basically from 17 feet to 50 or so feet out, you really wanted to be forward. And he made a big wide move down the stretch to get involved. That was clearly a prep to go longer. It's hard to believe this horse can be as good as he was back in 2024. But if he runs as well as he did in some of those races, even as well as he did in the Elkhorn, he's going to win. So I thought he might be the interesting one at a little bit of a price.
Yeah, he is interesting. If he gets back to those efforts, stretching out longer, you bring up a lot of excellent points. He was favored in all of those. Maybe didn't quite show up, but gets back out to a distance where I do think he's probably at his best. And you mentioned back at Santa Anita, he did well running long as well.
Yeah, and those were like lower, grade 3 listed stake types last time. But Ibermar and went for the money, and he was right there with those 2. And as you mentioned, that was definitely a prep. I mean, they knew what they were going to do after that race. They were going to target this one. He's in with a big shot as well.
He is race number 9. I know we're just doing top 2 picks, but does anybody want to talk about any other horses before we move things on?
I tried to make a few others. I just couldn't quite get there. Even the 2-mile winner, last out Summer Cause. I just don't think his races going shorter are good enough. And I can tell you Awfully Naughty, who was cross-entered in Houston, is going to stay at home. He was a horse that once upon a time was good enough to contend in here, but I can't bet him off a year-plus layoff. And quite honestly, he wasn't as good as Mr. Cut when we saw him in prior iterations of him either. I guess Devan Propos probably has some races that put him in the mix, but I don't know if he's going to quite be able to offer it up. And if you like him, I mean, doesn't that mean you think that Zverev is going to be a no-show? Ohana Honor is not going to be there, and Mr. Cuts also. It just feels like too much has to happen for him to get in there. The other thing was, Jackson mentioned pace-wise, Ohana Honor would probably be forward at least enough to get the jump on some of the deeper closers. And so I'm not really worried about anybody running away and getting a soft lead. So I just can't really make anybody else.
Yeah, the only other one that I'll mention, then Jackson, I want to see if you have any thoughts, was maybe to the horse Hammerhead to the far outside. I don't know if the blinkers off really made that big of a difference last time, but we saw a huge step up. Maybe it was just a synthetic up at Woodbine, but either way, I like that effort. That one's a little bit intriguing to me. I don't know that I'll play him as a win candidate, but I might try and use him a little bit underneath and try and get creative if I play any exotics going vertically.
Yeah, I would just caution against the Woodbine form in December. Typically, the racetrack gets a little weird, a little funky. So some horses love it, some horses don't. If he's going to be a giant price, yeah, of course, use him. If he's going to be the third choice in here, I wouldn't use him.
I'm with you. Any other horses you want to discuss, Jackson?
I thought the 4 was a little interesting. Just hasn't done it before, and it's in good form. But he'll be fourthly placed as well. That's Layabout on the improve for this barn. But I'd be mostly leaning on the 3 and the 1, and as far as horizontals go.
I'm with you. We will move on to the next one. We'll wrap up race number 9 one more time with the picks. I am going 1-3. Jackson is going 3-1, and Nick is going 1-6. Race number 10 is the Pegasus World Cup filly and mare Turf. I'll throw those past performances back up on the screen as it goes as race number 10. It's a grade 2. We're going a mile and a 16th for the 4-year-olds and upward. Picks are up on the screen. I am going 8-7. Jackson going 6-4. Nick going 7-8. Nick, we got to start the conversation with the number 7, or rather, the number 8, Proctor Street, where I believe the morning line was released. I don't have it in front of me, but it is somewhere in the neighborhood of 12-1, if I remember correctly, which seems far too high for this horse. And I see you pick this one in second, and then we'll go to the inside and Whiskey Decision.
Yeah, I'll take the under on 12-1 on this horse, who seems to get bet pretty heavily each time. I couldn't really believe how much money she took when she was favored in the Perfect Sting, mainly because Dynamic Pricing had won a grade 1 over that turf course a little bit earlier in the year. So this is a horse that I kind of kept an eye on early in her career. I was a big Proctor's Ledge fan, and a friend of mine, Jack Jenkins, and I we laugh about Proctor's Ledge because he liked her when she broke her maiden at Gulfstream at 50-1. And we were at the NHC, and he didn't use her in the NHC. And it obviously would have put him into pretty prime contention. He hit the pick 5 for like 20 grand, but he would have definitely been a little bit better off in that respect. So she bounced back out of that perfect, and she ran fine in the Perfect Sting anyway. Brendan Walsh is so good. This just seems like a logical horse to me. I feel like her running style, her ability to be kind of a mid-pack type suits Gulfstream very, very well. And I think this is going to be an honestly run race. I'll be honest, though, guys. I struggled with this race more than any on the card. I thought this was a really, really tough race, and one where, the speed is mainly situated to the outside, which usually means you're going to get some measure of pace. And I wanted horses that could probably settle and make one run. And the two I could make the best case for were Proctor Street and Whiskey Decision.
Yeah, I'm with you. I ended up going Proctor Street on top in here. This is just a horse that I can never seem to not pick, and lately she hasn't let me down much. So I got to take her one more time. She seems to be so professional when she turns for home. She really knows what her job is, knows where the wire is and how to get there. And I think this is a very logical step up. Obviously, she's going to get tested by a group of others in here, as I think this is going to be probably by far her toughest test that she's going to face to date. But I do think she's in the right kind of form. She's improving, 2 and 3 back. She kind of paired up those buyer speed figures, as my co-host Jackson loves to always point out, took that progression to the 93. Maybe we see another progression from there, going 8.5. You mentioned the speed to the outside. This is a horse that has shown the ability to be tactical and can sit, and she should make that run to come flying late. Jackson,
am I crazy in thinking that she's going to go off favored?
Whiskey Decision?
Crazy?
Proctor
No.
Street.
Oh no, Proctor Street.
Proctor Street. Is that too?
I don't think it's crazy.
Okay.
I don't think it's crazy. I don't know if she'll quite get that much money, but I'm going to try and find this morning line actually while
I have it here, and I can kind of read it out. We do have Proctor Street at 12-1. Whiskey Decision is your morning line favorite at 9-2. And then we will go inside to the 6. Jackson, talk about Caitlin, her greatness, who you picked on top at 8-1.
Yeah, I love this filly. She was the catalyst for the biggest score of my entire life, so I feel obligated to bet her back almost every single time. But I do think she has a legit case to win this race, and I think people are going to look to her turf form and be, she's probably just better on the synthetic. But her 2 turf races that were really bad both came on the outer at Woodbine. You look what she did on the inner turf in the Dance Mart 3-back when she hit the front too early and got caught late. And then as well early in her career, that inner turf at Woodbine plays much more similarly to Gulfstream's turf course than the outer obviously does. So I can be forgiving of those races over on the outer. And her form, I think her form recently puts her right there. And I do think she's going to be, she won't be on the lead, but she's going to be 2 lengths off of it. She's going to be saving a little bit of ground. That's kind of what the winning trip is on this Gulfstream turf course. And she's run plenty of numbers that are every bit as good as horses like the 7 and the 8. So if she's going to be 8-1 in this spot, I think it's a pretty fair price.
No doubt. Jackson, correct me if I'm wrong. Was that date that you referenced for your score on September 13th?
No, it was the King's Plate when she won the King's Plate.
King's Plate. Sorry. That is the date I was trying to find, not 2025, 2024 in that win, because you and I had just begun our shows.
I think I met you like the day before. Yeah.
Correct. And then I watched you hit this thing, and I said, "Oh shit, I really gotta tune things up if I'm competing with this guy who's just hitting these ridiculous pick fives going all over." So no, I remember that day pretty fondly. So still nice hit on there. Nick, I want to throw it back to you, as you and I both have Whiskey Decision in the mix here. You picked her on top. I have her in second. This is one that I think it sets up really nicely for her, and Pratt and Chad Brown on these big days always seem to show up.
Yeah, just a mare that got a lot better when she got in Chad's barn. No disrespect to Arnaud Delacour, but this is really the kind of horse that's in Chad's wheelhouse, right? An off the pace turf female, and those are the horses he's always gotten the most out of. And I think if you excuse the Boston Spa, where Chad's barn wasn't exactly rolling at that point during the Saratoga meet, I think you can explain away a little bit for that. I thought she came back and ran very well in the Athenia, and was expected to do so, but delivered. So she figures to get the right kind of trip. She's not painfully slow either, so I wouldn't be surprised if you see Flavian use her a little bit out of the gate to ensure that she gets a good forward spot. So she just made a lot of sense to me from that perspective. Brian Nadeau made a 9-2 favorite in here, and I think it's that kind of race. I really, really can't see the public going hog wild for anybody. And you could see the spread between the shortest price and the longest price in this race being about as narrow as you can get in a 12-horse field.
Yeah, I could see something ridiculous where Proctor Street, Jackson, to your point, probably opens up as the favorite, but like drifts up, and then we see, water kind of find its level. But I think that, our buddies over at Betting and Boozing on HHH Racing Podcast, they just wrapped up, and 2 or 3 of them picked Proctor Street on top. Obviously, Nick thinks highly of Proctor Street. I do as well. I think this horse is going to take a ton of beating. So I don't think you're that far off in your estimation that she could be the favorite. But one that won't be the favorite, one that should be a good price, is 8-1 on the morning line, is a horse you picked in second. That's the number 4 Breath Away from Miguel Clement and Oisin Murphy.
Yeah, just another contender, and what's just a wide open race. And I thought her races at Del Mar were both pretty good. The Col de Coba, she closed from way out of it to get up for second. No one was beating Special on the day, who just trounced that field. But you look what everyone else has done to come out of that race. I mean, we saw Medora win last week with a 97 buyer. Creval Dioro, who came back to win, also entered back in this race. Deep Satan ran a really good second in a grade 3 right after that too. Or I believe that was Public Assembly, excuse me. So that was a strong field that day. She came back in the matriarch, did not really get a setup in that race, but I thought she still closed nicely to finish fourth in there. And the hope with her is the pace just really heats up. She's got a huge late kick, but she needs the pace to develop in front of her. At 8-1, she's, I think, a horse you could definitely use on your tickets.
She's one you could use. I do want to talk briefly about the pace scenario. We know one horse that's going to go. That's going to be the number 5 Classic Q for Mark Cassidy and Jose Ortiz. Nadeau has that one at 6-1 on the morning line. Nick, you had mentioned that a lot of the other pace is going to be coming from the outside, I think, and One More Time is a horse that's certainly going to show some speed, but probably not get in the way of the stablemate of Classic Q. But you have a horse in our time, last raced out at Del Mar in the matriarch, going the mile. This is one that's certainly going to be forward. Irad Ortiz taking them out for the first time since August in 2024 at Saratoga. This is one that I think certainly does her best running on the front. But Nick, in terms of a pace scenario, do you think Irad and Jose or the brothers are going to hook up as they go into the first turn, or how do you make this pace scenario?
Yeah, that's a tough one to have to deal with, right? And it does make you nervous about what exactly could go on. I don't expect them to get into any kind of pace duel. And the interesting thing is that randomly out of nowhere, Jose had Classic Q almost last 2 starts back at Keeneland, and it came out of nowhere. And she ran very well, actually, all things considered. That was a weaker race than this for sure. But she came back into Mrs. Revere, and I generally feel like the November turf course at Churchill is a little more conducive to speed types, so I'm not surprised she ran better. I've just never really been a big fan of this horse. I thought she was very fortunate in the Wild Applause. She did come back and run very well in the Lake George, but just don't know if she's been at that level again since. I know speed figure-wise, it would indicate that she was last time out, but I'm a little skeptical, and it's hard for me to kind of sit down and look through this field and envision a scenario where she wins. Because if she is able to get clear, I feel like she's going to have to work so hard in order to do so. And if she ends up rating, there's going to be a bunch of horses that just bury her inside. And I don't really love her chances of getting through there to make that work.
I'm with you. Classic Q's not the horse that I could ever really make winning. I don't think she's the best of the speed. I don't think she's the best closer. I don't think she's the best if she sits mid-pack. So I agree with you there. Jackson, any notes on how you think the pace scenario is going to play out with horses like In Our Time? You have Moving On Up, also in the Saffy barn, who can be forward naturally, but probably won't be a part of the pace. But what do you make of the pace scenario here?
Yeah, I mean, it's Gulfstream. It's a 12-horse field. I think they're going to go honest enough, at least. In Our Time seems the most likely candidate to hit the front. After that, it could be a number of horses tracking them, but I don't think they're going to walk the dog necessarily. I was a little surprised she's 5-1 in this spot, considering her recent form. But look, if she get loose, she can be dangerous for sure.
She can be dangerous. Well, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. We'll wrap up race number 10. But first, anybody else want to talk about any other horses in this race before we keep things moving? No? All right. Race number 10, I'm going 8-7. Jackson's going 6-4. Nick is going 7-8. We will move on now to the late pick 3. We're going to start with race number 11, of course. It's the Grade 2 Inside Information Stakes, going 7 furlongs on the main track. Picks are up. I am going 8-1. Jackson's going 3-2. Nick is going 3-11. Jackson, we're going to start with you this time. I know we texted a little bit all together about getting wise with the number 3, Jody's Pride. Pride is going to kill the price, to your point, but still pick this one on top. Looks to bounce back after, I believe it was a third in this race last year behind Mystic Lake and Emery. So you're taking it right back 1 year later.
This is a great race. There's 12 horses entered, and I mean, I think 9 or 10 of them can win. And I'm not going to fault anyone for taking a shot in this spot. So I think Jody's Pride is interesting in that her most recent form just seems a little dirtied up. She tried to go the Grade 1 at Keeneland, and we just talked about earlier, the pressing the pace on the grass, going 2 turns is just not a winning formula. And that's what she did. She was 3 wide both turns, pressing a fast pace. She hit the lead top of the stretch and just got a little tired in the final furlong. I don't think that race is nearly as bad as it looks on the page. The 2-back race at Kentucky Downs, I mean, she was 3rd behind AG Bullet. It was a really, really good grass mare. 2nd in the Breeders' Cup, 3rd the year before that. That's a really nice filly she was in behind. And then the Saratoga race, there was like a huge rainstorm in the middle of that card, and the inside got really, really good late in the day, and she was always 4 or 5 wide, never got to the inside, never got to the best part of the track. I think you can be a little forgiving of that effort too. So I just think her form's dirtied up. Her best efforts put her right there against anyone else. And, you know, I think she'll be a middle price in a race that just seems really wide open. So I'm going to pick her on top in this spot.
Nick, excuse me, Nick, you share the same opinion, picking the number 3, Jody's Pride, on top. I definitely want to hear your points as to why you also think that she's going to get the job done this Saturday. Also, a little bit curious your thoughts on, obviously, I know we all respect the horseman that Jorge Abreu is. What do you make of him kind of, throwing this horse on the turf for a couple starts, comes in here off the bench, maybe just trying to, wake her up on a new surface, or maybe he thinks she can win on, dirt, turf, or wherever?
Yeah, I think if you remember back to the middle of the summer last year, the division that we were all crowing about being incredibly strong was the filly and mare sprint division. And so he probably realized after that honorable miss, there's no point in me going out and bashing my head against the wall against the likes of, Ways and Means, Kopi, and et cetera, et cetera. And then ironically, it ended up being one of the weaker Breeders' Cup races by the time we got to the fall, because there was a lot of attrition along the way. I think she ran just well enough at Kentucky Downs to earn one more try on turf. I've never really been a big fan of her around 2 turns, especially since her 2-year-old season, because I think what her good finish in the juvenile filly showed us is she was just a filly with quality, and she was probably a little ahead of the curve at that point relative to the rest of her generation. This is what she's always wanted to do. 1-turn races, to me, 7/8 to a mile. If this was a mile, I'd probably like her even more. But I think there's really, as Jackson said, the trip and the honorable miss, less than ideal. People aren't really going to realize that, how good the rail got that day. The Bed of Roses also, your 3rd beaten 14 at 7/8, but Ways and Means on her favorite track wins by nearly 8, and Scylla runs 2nd. And, Scylla was a filly that didn't really deliver at any point last year until when it really mattered. And we all sort of wondered, well, God, what if we had seen this a few more times? She's still very, very good. So I also went back and watched the workout at Palm Meadows on January 11th. Jorge Abreu worked her with Nelson Avenue. Jorge trains his horses a lot like Chad Brown. He worked for Chad Brown, so he's looking for his horses to pair up, work together, tries to really pair them up based on what he thinks is comparable ability. She clearly outworked Nelson Avenue, who's running a little bit earlier, or actually he's running a little bit earlier on this card in the Hooper. Quality horse, solid, hard knocking, older dirt male. And so I thought that was a really good sign. So I think she fits this race like a glove, and I think Flavien will be able to put her really wherever he wants early. There should be enough pace for her to have a target, and she doesn't have to be that far off it anyway.
Yeah, she's never come from that far off of it in her dirt tries. I know, again, we only give our top 2 picks. I did not have her in my top 3. I probably had her around 4th. I will say the biggest plus I could give her is when she comes off the layoff, those are her 2 strongest numbers, going 7 furlongs in last year's Inside Information, and then again in May at Belmont at the Big A and the Ruffian. Both of those going 1 turn. One was going the 7 furlongs over this racetrack, of course. So she seems to fire fresh, and she's one that is probably going to concern me. This is the race that I always seem to spread the deepest every year when I play these horizontals, because these fillies and mares going 7 furlongs on the main track can always get some funky results going. So I do like the picks with the number 3, Jody's Pride by you gentlemen. We'll go down to the number 2 in Necessity. Jackson, Riley Mott. I would imagine this one is going to be quite the price. So sell us on why you like this horse to win the race.
Yeah, I think she'll be a price in here. And look, I believe there's 5 horses. I believe the top 5 finishers are all coming out of that race at Gulfstream on Boxing Day. And you're going to talk about Sterling Silver in a minute. I thought Sterling Silver got the best of the trip in that race by a mile. I don't think it was really close. But I thought Necessity was not maybe always in the best spot. She's kind of behind horses, in between horses. You know, Sterling Silver got the jump on her. And I thought she actually still ran okay to be second in that spot. I don't know how she beat Claret Beret after that horse snuck up the rail. And Necessity just seems like a horse that is kind of rounding into good form right now. Her last 2 races are a lot better than what she was doing earlier in her career. The key to this filly might just be cutting back to 1 turn, because that's her last 2 races have been 1 turn. That's what she has never done in her entire life, and those are her best 2 races up to this point. So I'm hoping she's just on the improve. I don't love the inside post for her because she doesn't seem like she has a ton of early speed. But I do think, as you said, she's going to be a big enough price where if she, can work out a trip, if she can get enough pace in front of her, then she can come running late.
Yes, she can, and she has done well around the 1-turn races. I'll give you that without a doubt. And if she steps up, we've seen that before in those fillies or mares that are just in good form. Sometimes they just continue that, and it's tough to keep those female horses in good form. But you're right. I am going to talk about Sterling Silver in the new barn of Anthony Margata. I really like that last effort going 1 turn in the Rampart. You mentioned that we have those top 5 finishers all coming out of here, but she's paired up some really nice wins. Previously, 2 back was trained by Bill Mott in the kind of mid-fall in the Iroquois, and then came back here as you mentioned on Boxing Day, which is not a day that I've ever said out loud. I don't think that's just the day after Christmas or December 26th. That's opening day for Santa Anita, actually, for me. That's how I address it.
Usually.
Yeah, usually, weather permitting, I guess, in Southern California. I love the way she finished that race off. It really looked like when she got in the clear, she really powered home and did a good job of it. I think she could beat all of those same horses that she's facing again. I think she drew really well. And I think there's enough pace to kind of set things up for her. The rail horse in Indy Bay does scare me, and I'll get to that in just a second. But I did think Sterling Silver was going to be a force to be reckoned with. I'm curious about what the morning line looks like. I don't want to take her at too short of a price because I do think this is a very deep and competitive field. But I'd hope for maybe 7-2 if that's at the absolute kind of floor. I don't know if I'm wishing for that or not.
That's low. You take 7-2 on her?
That'd be the lowest I would take on her. Yes.
Okay.
It sounds like Jackson would lay 7-2 on her.
Yeah. I think I might.
No, she'll. I mean, I honestly don't see how the morning line favorite is going to be less than 7-2 in here, just because they look so evenly matched. I think you'll get 6-1 or so in that vicinity. I think that's probably around where I would make her. She's an interesting case coming out of that Rampart, and you guys mentioned now multiple horses out of it. And yeah, one of the things that's remarkable about that, and even going back and watching the replay, is how Claret Beret really just squandered that trip. It was incredible. And I know I was alive in the pick 5, and I had used multiple horses, not including Claret Beret, and they were going around the turn, and I was like, well, the hell with this. I mean, I'm screwed. Because she just looked like she was sneaking right up the inside, and then she completely stopped. Necessity kind of made 2 moves in a way, Sterling Silver to an extent as well. Sterling Silver got a really good trip in here, but it wasn't as if she needed this trip to win. So it's, she's not a horse that I want to just tag with saying, oh, she won because she got a great trip. And so you see Clara Bure come up the inside here, and I thought, well, she's going to cut the corner and draw off, and she just completely stops. One Magic Filly was really disappointing, and Dazzling Move was disappointing. It looks like Dazzling Move really can't run anymore. And I thought Necessity ran well. She kind of did the 2-move type thing as well. So yeah, I think taking either of the 1-2 finishers from out of there makes perfect sense to me. And I've had a lot of affinity for Sterling Silver over the years. Just a really, really hard trying New York bred. And Mott almost got a 1 1/8 win out of her a couple of different times, and she doesn't want any part of a 1 1/8. And so now first time for Anthony Margata, she ran just as well as she had with Bill. So why can't she have a good year at 7?
Yeah, no doubt. It's really too bad Bill Mott couldn't get 9 furlongs out of her, because I had her on site at Saratoga on June 4th, and that would have completed quite I believe it was a pick 5 or a pick 6 for me. So it's too bad that 9 furlongs wasn't in her wheelhouse, but I do think the 7 furlongs is going to hit her between the eyes. We're One Magic Filly, real quick. I want to stick with her. Jackson, I don't know how you feel, but we obviously saw this horse a lot out on the West Coast, and she's never really given the one that she's progressed after that, those first about 4 races. And then second, she hasn't shown that just kind of killer ability to go out and win some of these races. So I've kind of seen all I need to see from her. I'm good fading her in this spot. I see that you are too. Just not sure if you have anything to add.
I guess if you like her, you like the outside post. You like that she has speed, and you like that she's cutting back half a furlong. I'm not sure it's going to matter given how good of a trip she got last time, and she was still, 4th and soundly beaten. But the races 2 and 3 back do put her back in the mix.
Sure, they do. I don't doubt that. Figures wise, she should be right there. She's very likely to finish in the top 3, in my opinion. I just don't know that I would take her on the win end, because I do think she's beatable. Grand Job, that at number 11. I'll throw it back out to you, Nick, as you pick this horse in second, off of a disappointing effort last time out. So I'm curious to your thoughts.
Yeah, first time off an 8-month layoff, got stuck into a really fast pace and understandably tired. Felt to me like a case where you're really buying low on her. The setup is not great because she was entered in the Rampart, got scratched, and then didn't work for 3 weeks after that. So admittedly, you need to know that you're taking that on if you're backing her. But this is a horse that on her best days since she got into Bill Mott's barn, she's been very good. And she ran 2 very, very good races at Gulfstream last year. Yeah, one was with Lasix, but the other in the Royal Delta was really outstanding. I mean, she set a wild pace, and a lot of people afterwards were upset that it felt like Safi Joseph Jr. was using one of his other fillies that was in there as a rabbit to hook her early, because it looked like she was clearly, the main speed. And then she came back and just beat the pants off Darth Vader. So, which based on what Darth Vader did later in the year, I think you can upgrade the quality of that performance. It's a one tactic type horse to like, right? You're only using her because you want Junior to just open the throttle out of the gate and let her just try and blast them. And so I felt like that was at least conceivable. So that was why I wanted to throw her in there. But again, this is another race where, I'd be open to 4 or 5 possibilities.
Definitely, this race is wide open. This is one I would use on horizontal tickets for sure. You see those very quick works, 2 and 3 back for Bill Mott, even go 4 back. But you have that little bit of a break in the work tab. But this horse clearly, when she's right, she is very quick. I remember in October of 2024, Paul Halloran, buddy over at HHH, was letting us know that Junior Alvarado stayed in New York to ride this horse in that effort before flying out to Del Mar for the Breeders' Cup races. So clearly that barn jockey and trainer have thought very highly of this horse since coming over to the States. So if she can get back to some of those efforts, she's very dangerous. I'm with you. She's the one type horse where you need Alvarado to send like a banshee out of that gate, because I think if he gets clear and isn't in a duel, I think almost not regardless of how fast she goes, but if she's going fast and she's clear, she might have the ability to kind of stick out that last bit, because this race could go any number of directions. Jackson's, any thoughts on the number 11 Grand Job before we dive down to the rail horse?
No, I mean, she's definitely a logical contender. I think you'll get a decent price on her too. I think she kind of missed the break last time from the rail, and then Jose might have gotten a little over aggressive, just sent her and saw what happened. But definitely a horse that ran like she needed to start.
She did. I'll go down to the rail horse in Indy Bay, and I'm curious your guys' opinion here. Obviously, last time in the Grade 1 cotillion at Parks, whether it was the surface of Parks or the distance, she kind of threw in the towel. Her race was over very, very soon into that race. Really just ran about a quarter of a mile, and then now we see her back here many months later. But Irad still hops back aboard here. I thought that was a little bit interesting. This is one of the big days. You know, he'd have some other options of where to go. I know he rides for Safi a lot, obviously, but for him to hop back on this horse, coming off of an eased line and a layoff, makes you think at least this horse is not done running yet. So I respect this horse enough. It worries me that we might see an Irad tax, an Irad Safi tax at Gulfstream, and this horse might be bet down a little bit too low. But I'll be using this horse in my horizontals. I think this horse on her best day can certainly come and fire a victory. I think even the two-back race probably gets her pretty close. I know that was, 4 turns at Charlestown to go 7 furlongs. But regardless, I do think that on her best day, she can certainly hang with the likes of these. Curious your guys' thoughts here.
Yeah, I mean, look, she was a filly that was running 90, 91 buyers in the spring of 2025 as a 3-year-old. And if she's taken any kind of step forward from then to now, I mean, she's supposed to be maybe the horse to beat him. And not many horses in this race are running those mid to high 90 buyers. So got to recover from that last race, obviously, because something went wrong that day.
No doubt. Nick, any thoughts on the rail horse Indy Bay here?
Yeah, I thought it was interesting that her buyer figures were good last year. Her thoroughgraphs were actually very average. I think some of that probably had to do with the fact that she was forwardly placed and showing speed closer to the inside. So I agree. I mean, in principle, she's a horse that really showed some pretty serious ability in the early part of last year. Those fillies did kind of take turns beating each other. That second tier sort of underneath Echo Sound and Kilwin, and I think Ragtime was probably the best of them. But was admittedly, a cut below the Grade 1 type horses. I worry a little bit about the rail and working out a trip from the inside. I did not watch her workouts. I probably will try and go back and do that before the workout reports come out. But if I don't, then I'll certainly be taking a look at the workout reports, because you would think, based on that bullet, she's probably looking good in the morning. Yeah,
I would think she's looking good in the morning. I haven't gotten a chance to deep dive into the works yet. Either. I think I was only able to catch maybe one of them, but Indy Bay, I do think again on her best day, yeah, she was running those really strong numbers mid-season, early season 3-year-old. So as long as she's not over bet, I do think I'd take a little bit of a stab at her at the windows in a sort of win bet candidate if we can get. Again, I don't think the favorite should be under 7-2, so anybody shorter than that, I'd probably fade. We'll wrap up race number 11, go to race number 12, as Jackson, I assume, swats a fly out of his face. I'm going 8-1, Jackson going 3-2, Nick going 3-11. We will go on to race number 12. It's the Pegasus World Cup Turf, the Grade 1, one of the 2 Grade 1s we'll cover now. We're going 9 furlongs on the grass. Picture up on the screen. I'm going 2-3. Jackson is going 2-8. Nick is going 3-2. Jackson, I think you and I, our strongest opinion here is in program trading. I definitely want to get your thoughts. But first, let's go to Patrick B. and Cone, or let's go to Nick, as Patrick B. and Cone and Beach Gold is his top pick in the Pegasus World Cup Turf.
Yeah, this is like my only off-the-wall thought for the whole pick 5 sequence, and this horse is going to be a relatively big price. Deservedly so, based on what we've seen from him so far. But when you sort of start to peel back the layers of the onion, I think there's something there that you can latch on to. So going all the way back to the Mint Million, he was 3 to 4 wide the trip. Outside trips at Kentucky Downs are death, and he ran very, very well. He got a 2 thoroughgraph that day, came back in the Coolmore Turf Mile, and was never really in a particularly comfortable spot. Didn't really fire, ended up wedged in down on the inside. I did think the very inside path on the turf opening weekend at Keeneland last fall was a little bit less than stellar. He came back with a very good effort in the Fort Lauderdale. And, at the end of the day, you go watch that Fort Lauderdale replay. And if you want to play it, Ryan, really it's from the half-mile pull home that matters, because Cugino is going to be one of the choices in this race. And if you keep a look at one eye on Cugino and one eye on Beach Gold, what you're going to notice is that, Cugino gets one of the all-time great rides and trips that you're going to find. He's in the West Point Silks, whereas Beach Gold is always on the outside in this race. He's in those sort of lavender, grayish looking silks. He's a 5. And David Egan has no choice at this point but to bring him, or I'm sorry, it was Junior Alvarado. It's David Egan on Saturday, to bring him wide and try and circle the field here. Understanding, of course, and unfortunately, Wolfie's Dynaghost had something happen and isn't in this race. It would have been great to see him stepping up in competition based on the way he's run of late. So, I mean, Cugino is just waiting on a spot here. And as soon as he gets outside, he's got a free and clear path. Beach Gold has to keep fighting on the outside. I know there were a couple lengths between them at the finish, but there was at least that much difference in terms of ground loss and ground save throughout it. So now you have Beach Gold coming back. Interestingly, his last workout was with Layabout. I thought he looked clearly best of the two. Bean Cohn took Layabout and ran him in the McKnight. And I think part of that was keeping Beach Gold in here. And so I could make a case for him. I don't have to really go too wild in order to do so. And at the end of the day, I think Program Trading is clearly the horse to beat. I think the 1 1/8 is probably the biggest mitigating factor with Program Trading. He's a horse that's a little bit better with a little bit more ground. So he's the one to beat. I could make a case for Beach Gold at a price.
Yeah, I picked Beach Gold in second. I don't necessarily disagree with anything that you said. I just think Program Trading's a slightly better animal. Is going to be coming from around the same place, and I think if both of them were to showcase their kick, I'd probably take Program Trading. I don't know, maybe 8 times out of 10, but you're going to get a much better price on Beach Gold.
Right.
To your point, so I think, and Jackson, I'll turn it over to you to the price you think we'll get on Program Trading here. I'd love to know what it is overseas in the anti-post, as would you. But yeah, Beach Gold, a horse I certainly respect, coming second off the bench from that turf mile, ran really well. Cugino and Wolfie's Dynaghost, who, as you know, 7-year-olds, they always hit their peak form. So Wolfie's Dynaghost is it's a shame we can't see him in here. He'd be a very deserving favorite, but now I think the race is maybe a little bit more open, and it could go a number of different ways, but I do think Program Trading is going to be tough. Jackson, I'll go to you to give your points on this horse and what odds you think we're going to get.
Yeah, I just think we have Program Trading, who's a legit grade 1 horse, and he finds himself in a field that probably is more like a grade 2 or grade 3 type of race. And to Nick's point, I do think he's probably better not going to 9 furlongs. He's probably better a little bit further, more like 10. But he's been running really well going a mile. So this is actually better than what he's been running against as of late. This is supposed to be better than the last couple of races have been for him. And watching the Breeders' Cup Mile back, he broke okay. He kind of got squeezed and shut off at the start, then had to take up a little bit. The beginning of the race wasn't necessarily ideal for him. And then they're coming around the turn, and he is following Notable Speech. Pratt's behind him the whole way, and Pratt has to decide to follow him the whole way up the rail or try to go around him. And he ends up trying to go around and just gets completely stopped. And it wasn't Pratt's fault. He's just trying to make a move in there. But he lost any and all chance in that race. And despite getting completely shut off in the stretch, he still finished the final quarter in sub 23 seconds, which I thought was amazing to discover that. So, he's not exactly a super slow horse. I don't think he's going to be coming from dead last. I think he'll be mid-pack-ish in a race like this. And, if he shows up, I just think he's supposed to beat this field when it comes down to it.
I'm with you. If he shows up, he should absolutely beat this field. He's going to be my single in any horizontals. I think this is, to me, the most likely winner. I'm with you. This is a 3-time grade 1 winner in a field that I don't think has that kind of class or prestige. Yes, could maybe get a little bit upset. I disagree a little bit on the Breeders' Cup Mile effort. I think that people are going to obviously bet this horse because he's a very good one, but I don't know. I don't think he necessarily had the horse to win. Obviously, he would have had a much better
he wasn't going to win, but he would have been 3rd or 4th probably. I mean, maybe 5th.
Yeah,
he wouldn't have been 10th. I mean, he would have been 2.
No, that's fair, because he did just keep on keeping on, and you mentioned he closed in a very fast time when he truly did lose all momentum. I mean, he was getting pulled back and trying to find a space for 3 or 4 strides in there. So I think the 9 furlongs is fine. But yeah, this is a horse that I'm excited to bet and excited to watch this race, because I think Program Trading could show up and prove to be a very, very good 6-year-old starting this 2026 season, or someone else could kind of make their mark and show up in a race like this. So I'm with you. What price, Jackson, do you think we get on the number 2 Program Trading?
I mean, I think he's probably going to be even money-ish come post time. Potentially. He's 5-2 in the morning line. I think that's too high, but he's got to take a lot of money.
Yeah, he's going to take an absolute beating. Nick, I'm curious your thoughts on what you think maybe the off odds will be on this horse. The morning line is 5-2, and then what do you think you'll get on Beach Gold? As that is a much more favorable morning line at 15-1.
Yeah, I think program trading will be probably 3-2 or less. I think the public's really gonna hone in on this horse, and understandably, right, with those credentials, a Grade 1 winner, a horse that's been competitive in Grade 1 races for a long time. I don't really think he's of this caliber, although I don't really want to find out the hard way. But I felt like Test Score is gonna take a decent amount of money in here as well, because he's sort of a universal trip horse from last time out. Now, he was the funny type horse that really never took any money, and then all of a sudden, it's not that he never took money, he was never favored, and all of a sudden got pounded in his last two starts when he went out west. And I think Juan Hernandez said pretty clearly after his last start that he would like a mulligan, and he certainly should have gotten it, because he didn't give him a very good ride. This is a difficult horse. He's a turf horse that's kind of a bicycle horse. You really have to get after him, and it looks in every race like he's spinning his wheels, and then all of a sudden he kicks in. But, this horse never ran poorly last year. He kept delivering every single time. I don't think the mile and 5/16 of the Nashville Derby is really what he wants distance-wise. So it's one of those scenarios where, every speed figure would indicate to you he's too slow, but these 3-year-old races generally top out at about 90, low 90s. So how much better is he going to be now as a newly turned 4-year-old? I thought he could be a little dangerous. I could see him going down a little bit off the 8-1 morning line. There's some California invaders that like Call Sign 7 is going to be 1,000,000 and he's 15-1 on the morning line. I mean, he has no chance in here whatsoever. Almendarez has a much better chance to me than Call Sign 7, and Almendarez is longer on the morning line. So there are some horses that are going to drift up substantially in price. Cagino gives you a little protection as far as program trading goes, because he is going to take a lot of money. He takes money pretty frequently anyway. He's a West Point horse, so you're going to get a lot of support there. What about a horse like Fort Washington? He's 10-1 on the morning line. I draw a line through the Kentucky Downs race. It's really a question of if you're comfortable with him coming back off the layoff, but he's run good enough to win this race 5 different times.
Yeah, he was in some really good form. Our buddy Jason Avila, who Jackson we talked to at Santa Anita, had him big time in the dinner party over that. I know it's listed as good. Definitely was not a good.
It was a quagmire.
Yeah, that thing you could make scotch in the bog that thing was. The dinner party had him big that day. I mean, that horse did very little wrong, and when he was going right, he was really going right, and he closed into slow paces kind of time and time again. So yeah, I'm with you. Fort Washington, I think, has some pretty good value. I have that one in third.
Yeah, my issue with him is he is a one-run closer in post 12 in a race that does not have much speed in it. Because outside of Cabo Spirit, I really don't know who's. I don't think the 4 one stripe is going to go to the front again after he won off the pace last time. And we know Astronomer is not nearly as fast as Cabo Spirit because they've been facing each other so many times. So that'd be the one concern with Fort Washington. But no doubt he's a horse that is capable of winning this, I think.
Yeah, let's stick on the pace scenario real quick. Jackson, West Coast Invader and Cabo Spirit, a few of them in here with Call Sign 7, Almendarez, and Astronomer. But Cabo Spirit is kind of one of those that looks alone on the lead. He finally won on a bit of a quick pace last time, which was something new that we didn't really see from him. And that was over a good listed turf course at Santa Anita after a little bit of rain. What do you make of his chances here as one of the main, if not the only kind of must go to the front type horses with a guy like Mike Smith, who is no stranger to sending a horse to the lead?
Yeah, he's got to go. That's the way he's going to win this race. That's his only chance. You're setting this horse to the front, and you're doing what you did last time and try to open up this field a little bit and try to bottom him out. Because if you slow down the pace, there are horses that are going to not be too far behind him that can definitely outkick him for home. So I know he won. I didn't know what to make of his most recent race because I know he won that race. The number came back fast. He also beat Astronomer, who is 0 for his last 400 and doesn't want to pass anybody. So I'm not quite sure how strong that field was last time at Santa Anita, but they definitely have to catch him to win this race.
They do. I know Astronomer used to be a pet of mine. I haven't picked him in the last like 2 or 3 races, so I think that I finally cut the cord. But someday he'll get on the lead, and he's gonna win a race. I don't know when that's gonna be. He might retire before then, but at some point, got to get him on the front end because I think that he doesn't want to pass any horses. Cabo Spirit could certainly take them a long way. Might finish in the top 3. George Papadromo. Only won for 25 last 5 years with runners outside of the state of California. So not a huge vote of confidence there. He doesn't typically ship well. He doesn't ship often, though. That's only about 5 a year. That only is 5 a year. So call sign 7, or rather Cabo Spirit has certainly deserved the ship off that last win. We'll see if he can back up that performance. Anybody else want to talk about any other runners before we move on to our main event here? All right. We will move it on to the Pegasus in race number 13. But real quick, I'm going 2-3, Jackson 2-8, and Nick is going 3-2. We'll move on now to the feature event. We're going 9 furlongs on the main track. It's for 4-year-olds and upwards. It is the Grade 1 Pegasus Stakes. I am going 11-7. Jackson is going 5-7. Nick is going 8-1. So we're all different on the front end. 3 of us, 6 picks, 5 different numbers on the screen. We are going to start, Nick, with you. We'll go out to the number 8 with number 8 Poster. Owen Hardy, Junior Alvarado is aboard. Should get a very nice price on this one. I'll read the morning line out loud in just a second when I pull it up. We have 20-1 on Poster. So looking for a big bomb in here. Gets blinkers on for the graded stake start.
Yeah, I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you guys. I thought there were a lot of speed horses in here, none of whom I could really embrace. And the closers consisted, the ones that I could pick, basically consisted of Skippy Longstocking and Banishing. And neither of those two really lit my fire relative to a horse like Poster. I know he had a comeback race. It was second off the layoff last out. He hung a little bit, but that was his first time back on dirt in almost a year. He's a horse that's run pretty consistently on any surface. He's going to get a lot of pace to run at. I'm just trying him. I don't even really know if 1 1/8 is what he wants. So I felt like I could make a good enough case. He's going to be a big price. I don't want to pick White Abario. I don't have a big problem with him, but I hate the stops and starts and all the, he was scratched, but he was fine. And his workouts are spotty and some of them didn't look that great. His last one looked fine. I watched it. So that was why I ended up going there. Maybe the blinkers help him finish the job a little bit because it did look like he kind of waited on Skippy Longstocking to fight back on the inside of him a little bit the other day. So that was kind of my thought. I'm all ears as far as alternatives. I don't have any arguments with a lot of horses in here.
Yeah, I'm not going to get I love the pick with Poster. I would never try and talk you off of a 20-1 morning line, especially for the boys in blue and Godolphin and a guy like Junior Alvarado who has to be still full of confidence with the stellar 2025 he's had. And this horse is coming off a career best performance over this racetrack, going the mile in a 16th, and that's that short stretch that you have. Flavian Pratt was aboard that day, gets to stretch out. Got beat by Skippy Longstocking, who maybe on the day was a bit of a better horse. But if Owen Hardy had this date circled on his calendar, there's a chance that maybe that wasn't the peak effort they were looking for, and they just wanted that good step up. So getting the blinkers on, I think that's a little bit of a confidence builder, I would say, just because maybe he was looking around for some competition late after he made the lead in that last start. So maybe this is kind of to focus him up. But again, 20-1, I have nothing. I'll talk quickly about the number 11 White Abario, and then we can get off of this horse. I had heard all week during Breeders' Cup week they wanted to scratch this horse because he moves a little bit weird. And in a week where there's a lot of eyes on the sport, I can't necessarily blame anybody for that. When you never know, and a horse that's been stopping and starting his entire career pretty much. But when this horse goes to Gulfstream Park, he seems to be a different animal. That work 2 back was nice. He seems to be coming into this the right way. I hope that 4-1 sticks. I think that's reasonable enough. I'm not going to take anything lower than that. I'd probably pivot to a horse like Tapan Street that we'll talk about and maybe some others. But I think if this horse is 4-1, he's proved before that he can just kind of show up at this racetrack. He's 8 for 10 here. He only has 10 career wins. All of his best work comes over this racetrack, and going the 9 furlongs is no problem for him. So I'll give him a look at 4-1. Nothing shorter though, as I think he's coming into this obviously looking for a repeat performance in the Pegasus World Cup. Go ahead, Jackson.
No.
I saw you on mute. I wasn't sure if you had thoughts. I am going to get your thoughts, though, as you are going with the other Safi in the number 5, Skippy Longstocking, coming off a win, just beating Poster and Catalytic last time out in the Harlan's Holiday.
Yeah, I think Nick and I probably see this race pretty similarly in that there's just a ton of speed. I think they got to fly up front. And, I don't entirely trust Disco Time yet. I'm not going to be surprised if Disco Time wins, but I do have, a question or two about him that I want to make him prove it to me at what's going to be a shorter price. So I think Skippy Longstocking is going to find himself in that middle of the pack. And I thought last time he ran well. I thought Poster got the jump on him and he was able to come back and and beat that horse. I can forgive the Charlestown race. It's just a weird racetrack. Saratoga, he made a move way, way too early. And he has run his better races over here at Gulfstream Park. So it just seems like a horse that is supposed to trip out, has numbers that fit, and is going to be, I think he's 15-1 on the morning line. That's a pretty good price on this horse.
Yeah, he is 15-1 on the morning line. You nailed that one. I don't necessarily hate Skippy Longstocking. I think this race could go a number of different ways. I do. We should talk about the favorite next. Disco Time coming in here. Flavien Prat aboard. Brad Cox trains this runner. 5 for 5. All 5 were with Florent Giroux, and you got to imagine there's a jockey upgrade going to Flavien Prat in a spot like this. Nick, I want to get your thoughts. Obviously, 3 back at Fairgrounds in the Lecomte Stakes. That was a very impressive race, coming from well off the pace in a fast race. Finished in front of Built that day, and obviously that's on the early 3-year-old trail to the Kentucky Derby. Has since come back. Fauner Park in the St. Louis Derby ran away with and hid that day, and then again in the Dwyer. What do you make of this horse's run style, and then what do you think Pratt does from the rail as you pick this horse in second?
Yeah, Brad Cox has that uncanny ability to find spots all around the country where he can be even money. And I think that was the case with bringing this horse back in the St. Louis Derby. It was a weekend where there were 3-year-old races all over the place. I think the Pennsylvania Derby, and there was a race at Churchill as well. So, guys like us are always going to bet against Disco Time because he's going to be overbet based on an easy trip, 1-turn mile in a situation now where he's facing a vastly different set of circumstances. And I mean, if the morning line is any indication, you're about to take slightly higher on a horse in a 12-horse grade 1 at a mile and an 8 than you did in a 4-horse listed stakes race at Aqueduct, right? And so from a gambling perspective, you'd want no part of it. That being said, I mean, he's sort of supposed to frighten you to death no matter what you're doing in here, because he does have that X factor in that he won the Lecomte from nearly last. So, do I think Flavien is going to want them to sprint away from him so he can take back and make one run? No, I think he wants to be in the thick of things. And I think if he had it his way, he'll bust out of the gate and win the race to the turn, and then basically tell everybody else, look, you want to get the lead, you're going to have to get in front of me. And I still think his chances would be pretty strong at that point. His last work at Payson looked good. He worked solo. He looked like a big, strong, fast horse. So I don't know how much more you'd expect from him, but I don't know. He's an enigmatic horse for a horse that's going to be such a short favorite because you don't know just how good he is. Obviously, he's delivered now 5 times in a row, but I wish we knew a little more about how he'd handle tougher competition. This is clearly not, the Arrogate or Gunrunner versions of this race, but it's a tough group, and it's one that he's going to have to be on the top of his game to beat them.
He is, and this is, I think, by far going to be his toughest test of his career so far, and he's going to have to prove that he is up to the task, as he's facing obviously older horses, as he's now a 4-year-old. So it's going to be interesting. I'm not going to be including him on any of my horizontals. I think that if I'm going to take a horse like Program Trading and some others that are going to be on the short side, I want to toss at least one of the favorites, and I think Disco Time is probably the one. Scares me to death. You're absolutely correct. And if he blows the doors off this field, I mean, we have a real player in the handicap division, and no surprise that it's by not this time. But I do think Disco Time, if they're ever going to try and beat this horse, it's got to be in this spot. Jackson, your thoughts on a deserving morning line favorite?
Yeah, I just think you're supposed to try to beat him in here because I don't – his last 2 races came under, as Nick said, just perfect circumstances. I mean, he got the easy leads and was pressing a softer, stop pressing the pace on the outside in the clear. I don't think it's going to happen in this race. He's got the rail, and there's just so much speed with outside. I mean, he's got Full Serrano is probably quicker than him. He's got Mataket Road as a grade 1 sprinter with speed. Captain Cook, grade 1 sprinter with speed. Mika, grade 1 turn horse that is very, very fast too. I just think you're supposed to make him beat you from off the pace in this spot. And if he goes way too fast in the front and beats you that way, okay, so be it. Good job. You're just way better than everyone else. But I just don't think that's going to happen on Saturday. So at 3-2 or 8-5 or whatever he's going to be, I'm going to go against.
Yeah, I'll play against, but he's one that if Pratt and Brad Cox and this horse is really a superstar, they'll prove it on Saturday because they are going to get tested. Next horse, and one of the last ones we'll talk about, was a horse that everybody was waiting to see this one come back after the win in the Florida Derby. The only horse to beat Sovereignty in 2025, Tapan Street, came back going the 1-turn mile, got the job done. Not exactly like a 1-9 shot should, but obviously bigger plans were in order. Jackson, you and I both picked this horse in second. I obviously anticipate a step up. I think you do too, but I mean, we're going to need a jump up of probably 15 plus buyer points. And do you think that's in the wheelhouse?
Yeah, it's certainly possible. And I wasn't in love with the comeback race. It was not visually pleasing, but I don't think that was really, I don't think it was fully cranked up to win that. I think it was probably the plan. Let's just get him an allowance win and stretch him back out to 2 turns, which is really what he wants to do. And I do think he's looked a lot better in the mornings since then than he did leading up to that race. So I think he's going the right direction. I just don't know how short of a price you want to take on him either, because he seems like he could be the second choice come post time. And I think I'd want closer to the 6-1 that he is on the morning line.
Yeah, he is a nice price. Go ahead.
I'm curious to hear what you guys have to say about his Florida Derby, because obviously it was impressive. He's the last horse to beat Sovereignty, and I think everyone's going to key in on that. But I also don't think that was the Sovereignty we're all used to, that we saw all over the summer. I mean, Neo Edquist was within 2.5 lengths of Sovereignty in that race. I don't think anyone's thinking that he's that kind of a horse. So I just wasn't quite sold on his Florida Derby either.
I think that, Nick, I want to get your thoughts as well. For me, Tapan Street in the Florida Derby had my second biggest win bet of 2025 because, Sovereignty, when he came out and won not the Holy Bull, but the Fountain of Youth off the bench, it was like, okay, well, he's not going to, there's no need to have him win the Florida Derby. I think Tapan Street needed the points at the time to kind of get in there. And he was really the only other logical horse. So for me at the time, that was who I wanted. Now I think, Jackson, I agree with what you're saying, that I think a lot of people are going to look to that and they're probably going to overbet him. So Nick, I'd love to hear your thoughts and then what you think the kind of the post-time price is going to be, post-time odds for Tapan Street.
Yeah, I think if you drew a line through Sovereignty's name and wrote in Thoroughbred X, this horse would be 3 times the price that he's going to be. So, I mean, it's his calling card is that he's the only horse that beat Sovereignty in 2025. And I agree with what you just alluded to, which is that I don't really think that was the Sovereignty that we saw in all those other starts. I think he was clearly being positioned to just get a run in because he needed another race. And I think if you remember, Manny Franco rode him that day as opposed to Junior, who had gotten hurt. I think Manny's instructions were to get him around there, keep him in one piece, keep him out of trouble. Don't worry about anything happening because he really doesn't need any finish better than just galloping around there. So, Jackson kind of said it. His comeback race stunk. It could have been a lot better. And, knowing Brad a little bit, seeing a lot of Brad's horses, I imagine Brad was disappointed with that comeback. I think he would have expected him to run a little bit better. He was getting Lasix for the first time. Flying Liam is a horse that was in for 25 at one point last year, finished third, beaten 3 lengths. So he should have run better in there. I don't know how good he is. That's the problem. And horses like this that I don't know how good Poster is, right? But Poster's going to be 25-1. So I can make that gamble. I can't take 6-1 or so on a horse that I just have real doubts about whether he's competent enough to win a race like this.
Yeah, and I think that's a really important point to mention. This game's all about finding the value. 100% Poster compared to Tapan Street is going to be the horse that, handicappers better. You have to bet that horse, hoping that he's better because, he seems to be in the best form, and people are going to overbet Tapan Street just because, he has that running line of Sovereignty in there to yours and Jackson's point. So I'm curious how this race gets run. It is a very competitive, addition. You have Madaket Road in here who we haven't spoke about. Banishing, who we kind of mentioned in passing, but he's just always such a cool horse to watch run. I mean, it could very well be his day. I don't think any of us would be shocked if Banishing won the Pegasus, even if he's not on all of our tickets. But the pace scenario certainly looks like it's going to be hot and it's going to be fast early. I think full Serrano kind of guarantees that, if anything else, because he kind of really only has one way of going. And then British Isles, who, Jackson, I still don't understand what this horse is doing, but took a huge step up to last time out, going the 9 furlongs in the native diver. But we won't stick on that one too much longer, but we'll wrap up the last race in race 13. That's the Pegasus, the grade 1. I'm going 11-7. Jackson is going 5-7. Nick is going 8-1. But Nick, thank you for joining us. Before we get you out of here, this is an excellent card. And I've only, really kind of dove into the stakes so far, and obviously the late pick 5 that we just covered. Is there a horse on this card that you've seen, whether it was in the sequence we just covered or any of the other races prior, that you are most excited to see run?
I'll tell you, the race before the sequence that we just covered might be the most interesting race of the day, because Life and Times is going to run against Knightsbridge. And, I've kind of been a Knightsbridge fanboy since early in his 3-year-old season, when he looked like a horse that was going to be kind of a Woody Stevens, H. Alan Jerkins type, and he just has had a really hard time staying in one piece. But he's looked really good in his 2 races since he came back in the fall, including the Mr. Prospector last time out. I think arguably he ran better on the slop 2 starts ago at Aqueduct in terms of the pace. And Life and Times, we just don't even really know how good this horse is. He's looked sensational in 2 prior starts. Granted, both were at Aqueduct. It's the hardest place in the world to make speed figures, but horses are coming back and performing relatively well out of there. He beat Time to Win in his debut. Time to Win came back and won 2 in a row. So I'm interested from a fan perspective in watching the Hooper. As far as the other races go, I'm intrigued to see if No Show Sammy Joe runs as well in the Christophe Clement, which is the renamed The Very One, the Very One. I'm interested to seeing if she runs as well as she did in the Via Borghese, because she was sensational in the Via Borghese. She absolutely blew their doors off, won by nearly 6 lengths at a very generous 5-2. And now she faces Fion, and I think Fion's going to be overbet in there. So I think you still might get a relatively decent price on No Show Sammy Joe. And there's a couple of synthetic races that are actually very good. There's a turf sprint that looks really interesting as well. I've never really liked him, but I almost wonder if it might be the right spot for Coppola, who loves Gulfstream, and now looks like he's really clear on the front end, in a spot where he can get brave, and he gets Irad on him again after failing in the Janus. He's going to be a better price than he was that day too.
Yeah, in terms of horses I'm most excited to see run, I am right with you in Life and Times versus Knightsbridge. That race, and I'm curious your guys' thoughts real quick, and we won't go on too much longer, but it feels like the type where one of those is going to win clear. I don't think either of those really give the appearance that they're, dig down and they're going to, ding-dong battle down the entire thing. I feel like one might pull a little bit clear, and you'll kind of see who is truly the better horse. That's just kind of that's the vibe I get from seeing them both win. All their wins are kind of from, blow the doors off their competition type of horses. But I'm with you. I think Coppola is loose as almost as loose as can be in that 5 furlong sprint. That horse does love it here. Jackson, I'll frame the same question to you. Horse you're most excited to see run this weekend on the Pegasus card?
I have not looked at the undercard yet, so I can't give you one there. But it would be the Pegasus, the World Cup for me. I'm very curious, even though I'm against the one in that spot. I'm curious to see how he does and how the rest of the field ends up running.
Yeah, it's going to be a very fun race card, as it always is, kicking off the 2026 season with just a stellar card front to back. 13 races going. We just covered the late pick 5. Nick, thank you so much for joining us. It was great to finally get to do a show with you. We hope to have you back on in the future, without a doubt. And great, best of luck to you. Hope the weather holds off for Sam Houston this weekend, as you guys have a very fun contest that you guys have on hand.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, enjoyed it. I look forward to coming on again.
Absolutely. For our special guest, Nick Tammaro, and my co-host, Jackson Muniz, I'm Ryan. Thank you guys for joining us once again on the Gallop Out. It's good to be back, and we will see you guys next week. Good luck.